This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by Braintree. Even the best mobile app won't work without the right payments API. That's where the Braintree V.0 SDK comes in. One amazingly simple integration gives you every way to pay. Try out the sandbox and see for yourself at braintreepayments.com/PCPer. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 393, recorded on March 30th, 2016. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
And I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
No, you're not.
Don't even look like him a bit.
No.
But you're on his side of the table.
Yeah.
Are you sitting on him?
No.
Good.
No. Yeah, in more ways than one, actually. It is good. So we're here to do a show. We're going to talk about some computer hardware. Alan is out doing things for hardware-related issues. Maybe. I don't know. I really need to check in on him. It's you know, it's like a little kid, right? Every once in a while, you'll be like, hey, are you doing what I told you to do? Are you doing the thing I told you to do? You know, I should probably do that with everybody, I guess. Josh, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, you should.
How's the snow?
Because snow is nice.
So
it's what, about 8 inches now?
You got 8 inches of snow. I went to the zoo today.
And I had to mow my lawn last night.
And what'd you say, Jeremy?
And I had to mow my lawn last night.
Yes, my yard was cut today, not by me, because it was so tall that I could not have run my own lawnmower through it. It took the big industrial stuff. No, not so much WIMP as didn't want to take 4 hours to do it, where you push it one mower length and then have to unclog it, and then push it one mower length and unclog it.
Good old days.
Yeah. But it was like, what did it get up to here today, Kevin? 70?
Oh, no, I didn't make it outside all day.
You didn't make it outside? It was a really nice
Some
day.
of us were working instead of gallivanting at the zoo.
Trust me, I didn't want to be at the zoo. Everybody and their 9 children were at the zoo today because it was a nice day. It's spring break for a lot of the kids here. And then we went to like a second or tertiary parking lot at the zoo. But it was fun. It's nice. But we're not here to talk about the zoo and the amazing elephants, giraffes, and red pandas that we saw. We're here instead to talk about computer hardware. Before we do that, I want to remind everybody, we record the show live on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. I did update the website, so the countdown timer was the correct hour as of today. So if you depend on that and it got screwed up because of me, sorry, it'll be good for at least the next 6 months or so. And every time I have to go change the code for it, I forget how to do it. So there's that. But if you need a reminder, about when we're doing it, and you don't want to depend on the countdown timer, you can go to, not Sebastian Peak, you can go to this webpage here at pcper.com/subscribe. You sign up for our mailing list. We send you a note. I had a little bit of a screw up today where some weird HTML got put into it from some plugin I have. And I
think Josh was trying to fish everyone.
Josh, yeah.
Yes.
And so the droplet, the server we have running our email server thing crashed, and we had to resend the email. So if you got 2, I apologize, but you should have gotten at least 1. And now we'll tell you when we're going to do our live streams. And we had, over the last week, we did 2 additional live streams, one for the Rift, one for the Vive. And if you were on our mailing list, you would have known about those immediately because it was something we just kind of decided to do an hour or 2 hours beforehand. So pcper.com/subscribe, sign up for that. And also, I want to remind people that if you enjoy what we do, if you like the live streams, if you like the videos, if you like the articles, if you like Josh's head, you can go to, and I meant his, like, this face area.
The actual physical, not the ability to.
Right. If you go to Patreon.com, if you go to patreon.com/PCPer, you get this webpage here, which allows you as a viewer, reader, fan to help us out by giving kind of a recurring monthly contribution. We are at $21.41 a month now. We kind of stalled for a little bit here, so we're trying to get some more people interested in it. We're trying to get to that 3,000 mark. If we get the 3,000 mark, that's when we're going to guarantee that we will do our weekly write-in show, our weekly question and answer. What do you call it? What's the advice? The famous advice column. Dear
Anne.
Dear Abby.
Dear Abby. Yeah.
I think that's a bit different.
We'll do a Dear Abby with Josh every week. You want to
My
check this?
husband often comes home late from work, smelling of pansies.
If you want to know about life advice or computer advice, Josh and I and Jeremy and maybe Alan, but Sebastian, we can all help you with that. So anybody that contributes to that, we greatly appreciate it. We appreciate the support. Anybody that does it while we're on the live stream or on the podcast, I'll get a notification. I will shout you out during the show. And if you have some funny numeric value, we've had people who have contributed 4321. Maybe 321, or we had 666.
About $9.99.
$9.99 would be a good one as well. So again, patreon.com/PCPro. We appreciate the support. Let's get into the stuff for this week. First up, we're gonna complete the trifecta, the set of VR builds that we had. Last week we talked about a $900 and a $1,500 VR system build. This is a $2,500 system build. So it's basically higher end parts, more budget. And again, keep in mind that we created this budget before we picked our parts. It was like, okay, 900 had a very specific point for it, and then we did 15 and 25 because they're just other price points that seem to be fairly even, well-rounded, and fairly common. You can see our breakdown here. We had a Core i7-5930K, an Asus X99 motherboard with USB 3.1, 16 gigs of Corsair Dominator memory, a GTX 980 Ti Strix from Asus, a 512 gig Samsung 950 Pro, Western Digital 4 terabyte Red, Corsair HX 750i Platinum, Corsair H100i V2 cooler, and a Corsair Carbide 600C chassis, which I really, really, really like a lot. Now, some people pointed out that the difference between the 5930 and the 5820K is about $100 and something, $130, I want to say. And you're really only losing 100 or 200 megahertz worth of clock speed. And that's fine. Like, if you want to, if you're building this system, you say, hey, I can get essentially very, very close performance or almost the same performance if you overclock, or a little bit more if you overclock, obviously. The 5820K is still an unlocked part. You save $100 and, what do I say here, $100 to $150 in price. You can absolutely do that. There's no real disadvantage other than you're dropping from 40 lanes of PCI Express to 28 lanes of PCI Express. Not a big deal for single GPU. If you want to do dual GPU and like multiple PCIe SSDs or something like that, then you start to get into, how many PCI Express lanes you're using. 28 is probably fine for the most part. I'll also point out really here, some people said, hey, you can get, if you cut out the 5830 or the 5930K, and maybe you get different memory or different cooler or whatever it is, cheaper case, you can actually add a second 980 Ti, which you absolutely can do inside that budget if you wiggle some things around. But I don't think that the benefits of multi-GPU are really useful in VR today. In fact, I know they're not useful today in VR because you don't implement SLI or Crossfire in the same way that you do with VR as you do with traditional games. It's a much more complicated thing. It's kind of on a game-to-game basis. So at this point, I would very much recommend not buying two 980 Ti's. There's already people who think buying one 980 Ti at this point, when we know in summer, late summer, whatever it is, we're going to see new GPUs from AMD and NVIDIA. Buying two, even more so, would be kind of detrimental.
Isn't the 850 Evo pretty much about the same speed as an 850 Pro? I mean, Pro is faster.
This is 950 Pro.
Oh, no, I thought it said 850 on that.
Did it say 850?
Nope.
Did I say 850 out loud? If I did, I meant 950. So it's the NVMe PCIe SSD.
Gotcha. Well, that's a big difference then.
Yeah, it's a big difference in performance. But again, honestly, if you're trying to save on a budget, you could get rid of that and get a 500 gig 850 Evo
for $150.
Yeah, and it's less money, and it's going to be slower, but it's going to be pretty good. Like, it's going to be fast, and you're going to have the same capacity. You might even be able to go up to the 1 terabyte 850 Evo if you weren't kind of itching to get 2 gigs per second read speeds, for example, right? So I mean, anytime you get into the higher priced system, there's a lot of things that are, hey, you could do this if you want to change this, or you want to focus on this, you want more capacity, you're not worried about performance, much more so than we could do in like a $900 system where we're very much restricted on what we could select. We ran performance tests. We ran obviously the Steam VR performance test. We got a score of 11, the highest score you can get. I really liked building in the Corsair Carbide 600C. It's one of those 180-degree rotated and also flipped, so the window's on the right-hand side of the case when you look at the case as opposed to the left-hand side. Working in it was really nice. Still plenty of space. It took a little bit of like a mental rotation to figure out where everything went the first time, but once you get in the flow of it, it's just, you just have a case sitting on the side of it and ready to go. And again, this isn't a complement to, as he scrolls back up here, our $900, $1,500, and $2,500 VR builds. Anybody have either of you guys have thoughts on this build or any of the other 3 builds we did before we move on to talk about the other stuff of the week?
No, they look good. It's it's a good slice of hardware there, and it gives you a good idea of kind of the performance goals that you should be aiming at for those price points. And certainly you can swap some parts in and out for each one. And I know that in the video that you had put up, a lot of people said, "Well, this, and this instead." And yeah, that's the point. Is you kind of set a foundation and say, you're kind of aiming for this, and how you get there is
you're not going to get a PC Per approved sticker to put on the side of it. Sorry.
No, we
if you mess with our setups, we'll think about sending one if you go exactly the same way.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I was just amazed at how well the 900 build did.
Yeah.
For $900, hey, you're minus of course your headset of choice. You're ready for VR, which also means if you've got a decent system which needs an upgrade, for $900 you can probably get the VR goggles and the upgrade you need to be doing it,
right?
Which is good.
Yeah, it's interesting, and actually, we just go into the next set of our stories here. So we actually had some hands-on time with an HTC Vive Pre, which is the what'd you call it? Like the pre-release version, the one they sent out to press several weeks ahead of time.
Oh, I thought it was the one running WebOS.
Yeah, it was running WebOS.
Okay,
so it's built by Palm.
Yeah.
No, HTC wouldn't be happy about me saying that. So it's an HTC Vive Pre, which is the Steam VR, the Valve-backed one. We got some time in with that. We did about an hour and 20-minute live stream with this device. Basically showed, oh, hey, look, did you guys know that PC Perspective Podcast is live right now? We went through a little bit of the setup. We showed you how the room setup works in that. We showed you how, easy, not really games, but like, what's it called? What's this thing I'm looking at called? Tilt brush, works, and how you can draw and be not artistic in 3D space. We go through Job Simulator, which is really funny, Space Pirates, Space Pirate Training VR. A lot of these are tech demos. The one thing that I really did like, what was this called? This was called, I can never remember the name of this game. It's so like kind of generic sounding that it's not memorable. I want to say Blank Space, but I know that's not it. It's something to do with your resume or something, isn't it? I forget.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a really cool game. It was the one thing I played on the Vive that was like a game as opposed to like this could turn into a game. Like I solved puzzles, I found keys, unlocked things, fought enemies, those types of deals, and I actually thought it worked really, really, really well. Now it's really annoying me. Budget cuts. Is that kind of a generic sounding name?
A bit.
To anybody else? I don't know. So I played some of that. We played some selfie tennis. Ken got in there. He played some selfie tennis. And
I like how you're killing all the tennis ball head people.
Man, that turned out to be way more fun than I thought it was going to be. Man, was that way
I like
more
all
fun.
the corpses just sitting around the...
Every time you hit one of the corpses, you can like that. Like you throw your racket at them, they make a noise. I was able to hit one like off the side of the field as well. It worked really well. It was fun. Again, like I don't know how long I would want to play that game for, but it's there. What else did you do, Ken? You played some selfie tennis and you did some hover junkers here at the end.
I managed to cut my hand playing selfie tennis.
Yeah, he did. He did like wave his hand in front of him and then hit the table. Right,
Yeah.
even though the bounds were definitely there, right? But he
Yeah.
went through the bounds very quickly. It's like a dog running through an electric fence. An
You
invisible
only do it
fence.
once.
You yelp as you go through, but damn it, you're through. It was very much a scenario kind of like that. So the Vive Pre, the kind of early edition. So it's not final hardware. It's not final software. All that can change between now and the April 5th actual release. But we had a lot of fun with it. Like, it was really cool. The room space setup was fairly easy. You need a lot more space, I feel like, than you might picture in your mind how much space you need for like a room space VR. Having tall ceilings is helpful. Like if you're reaching up to smack a tennis racket or something like that. That's,
You mean the ceiling fan right above my head is probably going to be a bad thing in VR?
That would probably be a negative. That's very true. But it's odd because I almost feel like people have, because of the Oculus Touch demos and these Vive demos, in the writing about those, a lot of people are just kind of assuming that, oh yeah, VR is, you've got these touch controllers and you've got this headset. Whereas really only the Pre is launching with that, right? The Pre is the only thing launching with the controllers. The Rift is coming, or is out now without the controllers, and it's just kind of the headset and you're using mouse keyboard or an Xbox controller or whatever. Everything seemed to perform well. I think we did all the Vive Pre demoing on our $1,500 VR system build. So it wasn't the high end, but it wasn't the low end. I'm trying to think now. What else stood out to you, Ken? Anything stood out about the Vive Pre experiences we
The
had?
game we played yesterday was pretty cool. You can probably Google that.
What was that called?
Audio Shield. See, this is
Audio
a very literal title. This is a memorable
It's called
title.
Audio Shield, and it's a rhythm-based
You
game.
can go to the Steam page and you can pull up a trailer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the first rhythm game I've seen in VR, which sounds like, well, I guess Rock Band VR is a thing.
Yeah.
That they're
Audio
demoing.
Shield. Yes, it is very literal now that I know what the game is. So this is a rhythm-based game where you're holding the controllers that turn out to be shields. This is not the Steam page. That turn out to be like little shields, and you're blocking. Why isn't this working? You're blocking like notes as they fly across the screen at you, essentially.
Yeah, so I believe it's the same developers as Audio Surf, if not, like...
It sounds familiar.
If it's not the same entire team, it's at least people that worked on it. They said they've improved sort of the algorithm to tweak it more for this sort of game, but essentially you import a track, or they have tracks you can just stream from SoundCloud, and it makes sort of the note pattern out of it, and you're...
So you have a red shield and a blue shield here.
Yeah.
And you're blocking the notes with the corresponding color. If you see a purple one, you hold both of them together and it will block them. And you can see what's interesting is like there's haptic feedback as well. Like the notes that have tails vibrate more. You saw one at the beginning where you kind of have to move your shield in kind of an arcing pattern as well. It was pretty neat, and as you can see, it's getting pretty intense here.
Yeah, I played one song in hard mode yesterday, and it kicked my butt.
Yeah. Yeah, if you got a cold or something like Ken, you have trouble breathing through your nose.
I was just not that coordinated to begin with, as it turns out.
So
how is it on Benadryl?
Oh, the best. Everything's the best.
And so this is pretty much just like a concept, right? Like,
I mean...
Is it something you can download and play, but it's not something you can buy, right?
Well, it's a Vive game, so you can't buy any of them. Right
Well,
now.
that's true.
I imagine they'll be there for long.
Available April 2016 is
Yeah.
what it says. So I'll be curious what kind of music it has, if it's all, like free music or stuff off of SoundCloud or whatever. It's kind of
You know what the best thing about like the Vive is?
No. Well, I do, but you tell me.
We're gonna have skinny nerds now
No, we're not.
because they're actually up and
Nope.
moving,
Just going to eat more.
doing aerobics.
Yeah. Because, like DDR and motion controllers made us all skinny, right?
Well, I never played that.
Just
so-
more Hot Pockets.
Exactly.
Man. Just more Hot Pockets. Now, we also tried out the Rift on Monday. The retail Rift started shipping to I think the Kickstarter backers got them first. I was one of the Kickstarter backers. It showed up on Monday. We did a live stream of that as well, kind of going through that whole setup process. kind of troubleshooting the fact that we were trying to use a secondary audio source as opposed to the primary audio source. But this time we mixed in a green screen, so it's like I'm in the world of Windows. It's pretty amazing, huh, guys?
Man, we should have done the podcast this way.
We should have done the podcast like this. We could just like whatever's on my screen is behind us while we talk.
Yeah.
I thought about that because I could point to individual things.
I'll get green screens, and then you just composite us all together, so it looks like we're in the same room.
Yeah, there you go. So we went through this stuff here. The early demos they have are pretty cool. We played Lucky's Tale. We played Eve Valkyrie. We played... What else did we actually play? We played Eve Valkyrie for a while as I scrubbed through this. It's really cool, and it's interesting. I think you should really watch the video. I know it's long. It's almost 2 hours. But it goes through like, okay, it's a lot of the setup process, but then what are you seeing on this viewport window versus what am I seeing? You know, Ken and I kind of go back and discuss that a little bit back and forth. This is all the time where I didn't have Lucky's framed correctly while Ken was playing it. This is like a platformer, right? That Ken really seemed to like, right?
Yeah. You kind of had to rip me out of that. I was just...
It doesn't look like Sonic at all.
So I found out that one of the guys that works for Oculus Game Studios is like one of the team like project leads on like Crash Bandicoot and Jack and Daxter and stuff.
Okay.
And it very much feels like, I don't know how much he was involved with this, but it feels like it.
Right. And then we put Alan in there, strapped Alan in, if you will, and he played some Defense Grid 2. Which is kind of like a PC tower defense game that was pretty cool. He seemed to be pretty impressed by the integration. You know, the game is essentially the same. The maps are tweaked, little things added here and there, but the gameplay, the fundamental gameplay is the same. But now you're interacting with it in a different way. And these are all games. Again, these don't use touch controllers. These are all we were using an Xbox One controller that ships with the Rift for that. And it seemed to work again really, really well. If I were to, I know we've had requests to like compare and contrast our experiences with the two devices, and they're just really, really different. I'm hopeful that the Vive Pre screen will improve between now and the final retail unit, because I did think, and Ken, you can tell me if you agree or not, I think the screen on the Rift was better. Like there was less screen door effect.
Either the screen or the optics or the combination.
Yeah, whatever I was seeing looked better on the Rift than it does on the Vive.
I noticed it again yesterday. I had some weird effect with the Vive where when it was like drawing just a black screen, there was like a weird parallax. I don't know. It was... The lenses were interacting with the black screen in a weird way that was throwing me
and the
off.
lenses could change, and the screens could change, and kind of the patterns can change in there. And it's possible they may add like post-processing of some kind into that. I don't know what the Rift is doing exactly. But in general, I think the Rift has a better screen, but I think the Vive has a better experience because... The Vive, like if you download a game that plays with a controller or a mouse and keyboard, you can play that on the Vive, right? But if you want a room scale type experience and you have the space and capability for it, even if it's just every once in a while, only the Vive will do that.
Well,
until September, October, whenever Oculus Rift actually ships those controllers. Now, if you haven't pre-ordered one of these devices, you may be waiting for that long anyway to get any of them. To be fair. But to me, it comes down to the games, and honestly, having it being Wednesday and we got in the Rift Monday and had a whole bunch of other stuff going on, I haven't spent the time with the Rift to decide if it is, in its current state with the allotment of games assigned to it, is it a good purchase? If you could go to Best Buy today and pay $5.99 for one, should you do it? If you're not like just wowed by the tech, which is something that I am, right? Like as just kind of a tech enthusiast. I don't know. Is this? I mean, Ken, thoughts on that, or anybody else? Like, is this something you would want to buy or be willing to go out and buy if you could buy it today if there wasn't supply constrained?
It's interesting. I kind of lean towards the Rift as the one I'd want to own.
Okay.
It feels like a better product. It's a lot lighter. It's way more comfortable to me. That could just be my personal preference. The Vive was actually a bit tight on me. I could never get it in the right position.
Yeah.
The nose piece kind of was digging into me, and I couldn't quite get it adjusted. Whereas the Rift was pretty comfortable to me. I noticed after playing that rhythm game that built-in headphones is a very nice thing because you don't have another thing to take off and try to deal with. Because if you put the headphones around your neck, then you're kind of you're kind of coiling the cord of the headset to your neck, so you can't quite take it off correctly.
Yeah, the Rift. We should point out the Rift has integrated earphones that are attached to the headset. You can remove them, which we did on the stream. You can see how we did it on the stream. It's really easy to do. They're just a USB device that show up to your system. You can remove them and take them physically off of the head unit, and then you can use your own headphones however you want. The Vive has a stereo headphone connector on the back of it, so you can connect your own headphones, and it will ship with earbuds, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Which should be pretty uncomfortable for
people are used to earbuds are a thing. People wear earbuds for hours now while they're doing whatever. It'll all depend on what the quality of the earbuds is. But yes, like the hassle of having to put on your headset, your HMD, your head-mounted display, and then find your headphones. Because once you put that on, you can't see anything anymore, especially with the Rift. With the Vive, you're supposed to have a pass-through camera, so you can kind of...
Well, even if you have a pass-through, you'll still be missing your headphones because you won't have depth perception because it's one camera.
Yeah, but I mean, you turn it on, you can see them on your desk.
You go,
If I close one eye,
I keep reaching out and they're not there.
I thought they had binocular cameras.
I don't think they do.
That they're planning on. I've seen pictures of them.
I don't think that none of them are integrated yet.
I think it's one on the Vive.
Only the Vive Pre has a pass-through camera, and it's one camera.
No, what's that augmented thing that's also the 3D?
The Sulon Q.
The what?
Sulon Q.
Yes. That's got binocular.
Yeah, but that's not a PC, hook up to your PC head unit, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is its own self-contained thing. I'm just talking about these two primary ones that are coming out.
All of this being said,
yeah,
the Vive is the one to show people. Because you have the motion controllers, and because you have the room scale stuff, like you clean out you clear out your living room, you set up lighthouses, and you show people the Vive to show them VR. And it's a lot more difficult of a sell with the Rift, I think, in the current state. I really like the Rift motion controllers. They're just not there.
It was funny. I was thinking about this earlier today, where I think to some degree that we've been talking about VR for so long. We've seen it at CESs, we've seen it at E3s. That at this point, like head-mounted display only VR almost feels like it's out of date already. Like, oh, you don't have the touch controllers yet? Oh, you don't have, room scale stuff? Oh, you're actually behind, right? And I don't think that's actual, truth, but I feel like that's what it seems like to, at least to those of us that have been following it for a while, even if you've never demoed it. We've been seeing it, I've had DK1 for, 3 years now? Or
at
something
least.
like that. Right. And so it wasn't great then. It's definitely a way better product now, but essentially they're selling the same idea today for $600 that they sold you, 3 years ago as this is going to be the future. Whereas it kind of feels like going from that 3-year step to today, the room scale, the being able to rotate, take a couple steps in any direction is kind of like another step above it.
Well, you can rotate and take a step in directions with the Rift
but I mean, there's a difference in the room scale versus the 3x3 scale is what they give you for the Rift.
It's you know what? We had issues the space we set up. I still don't feel was too big enough. When I was playing tennis, I was getting out of the range pretty quickly and hitting my hand on the table.
You were really into that tennis. So.
Yeah, it's you need a lot of area for this. You don't realize what 4 feet.
I saw somebody in the chat say it, and it was funny. I forgot who said it now, but when you build your next house out, you're going to have to spec in a VR room, which is just an empty 15 by 15.
I'm currently looking at rental property to move, so we'll see. Maybe I'll need to get a VR room. You
just need a 4-bedroom and find 2 roommates instead of 3 or whatever it is, right?
It kind of seems like some of this is like CPU development. You can make a design, but to extract that last 5 to 10% of performance out there takes years and ages to do. Yeah. And it seems like they have a working product with the DK1, but there's probably so many little things that just didn't work well. And you probably experienced that. Because because I know, like Carmack was talking about, how you tilt head down and then also, move your head forward, and have it at different angles, and that would just really kind of screw up to things, and people nauseous and uncomfortable and that. But it just seems like they had a lot of very little problems to solve that, when put together, made the Oculus, the vomit comet initially.
Sure. No, you're right. Like, again, I don't want to undersell what the Rift has done, because I think the Rift is an awesome product. And the fact that 3 years ago or whatever it was, I got a DK1. Like I said, it's a horrible device now compared to what we have today. And the experience is fundamentally better, and the quality of the device is better.
It's a completely different thing.
It's a completely different thing. But
I don't know. I'm kind of the opposite of you.
Yeah.
Now, this may well be because I've never actually played with one. I understand the reality of the wires coming out. Doesn't bother me at all, because the latency and just general difficulty added by a wireless. Yeah, you're going to have a bunch of wires. It's going to be minorly annoying. You can deal with it. But trying to figure out how I'm going to interact with the game, because a mouse and a keyboard, you just sort of get a little bit off because you can't see. You don't know if your mouse is about to fall off the table or not.
Right.
You're having difficulty getting back to home position on the keyboard, or trying to figure out why things are doing it weird, and it's because you've managed to put something on the shift key, say. So in a way, I can almost say, without a controller that's purpose-built for this, no matter how limited, because, I mean, there are some limitations you should expect, but no matter how limited, without something purpose-built, I'd almost feel like this is still not quite ready.
Well, you don't like traditional game controllers, so you've got that.
Okay, that might work.
So
but,
here's
but
the
like
thing.
like playing Project
don't have one
Cars
lying
with an
around.
Xbox controller. Well, that's why Oculus includes one in the package.
Oh, okay.
You can't buy an Oculus without an Xbox controller.
Then fair enough. I mean, at least you've got something that, whether I'm comfortable with it or not, that's a totally moot point.
Yeah, I mean,
as long as there's something that is there and it's usable with it.
Yeah, and the thing is, right now you're not doing Twitch gaming where a mouse and keyboard are really advantageous, so the Xbox controller is definitely a passable thing.
Well, here's the thing, like, with the Vive, you have the cool controller mapping as well. Like, when you're in between games or you're in a game, like, most of the time it lets you see a representation of the controllers in space, even if they're sitting on a desk, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a general idea of where they're at. I could see it, and I think the PSVR has this in there already, where the controller itself shows up in the menus and in some games because it's got the light bar on it, and that's how the camera can know where it is in space.
That's smart.
The Xbox One controller doesn't have that capability, right? Because there's no IR LEDs built into it. The Steam controller, as far as I know, doesn't have that, but that would be really cool if
there are IR LEDs built in the Xbox One controller.
Are there?
Because Kinect uses it to tell what face is associated with what controller, because you can swap it.
Well, if that's the case, you would think they'd be able to read that and like show it in physical space.
It might just be facing the wrong way.
And you could see a future where, like, all the controllers you buy, or keyboards or mice, right, have IR emitters in them, right? And then there's some kind of open way for a head unit to represent them in space. If we don't just get to AR instead of VR at that point, but like you would want, if you're playing Project Cars, for example, and you've got the Rift on, you would want your steering wheel to kind of show up, right?
You'd want it to be tracked. You want it to model over the steering wheel in the game.
Because if you have your hands on the wheel and there's a character with their hands on the wheel and they're not your hands in the wrong places, it can seem a little bit weird. But you'd like to be able to see, like, if it could have, it'd probably only take 4 IR LEDs per keyboard, maybe 2, to like basically represent your keyboard on the thing. Like, it's the operating system knows it's a Corsair, K70, and here's your things, and so it knows the layout, and boom, your keyboard shows up in VR. Now then you have to get into...
And not only are IR transmitters almost literally cheap as dirt, that could be your next RGB keyboard feature.
Right.
Boom, a couple of those spit out IR, don't look at it for too long, but hey, if you're wearing a Vive or an Oculus, it knows where it is.
When you go into VR mode, the RGB LEDs on your keyboard go to IR mode. That'd be cool.
And if your hands get cold, you just hold it over.
Green LED in the chat was asking what our experience was with using the cords. So both the Vive and the Rift are corded devices, obviously. My solution was for the Vive, I ran one HDMI and one USB 3 extension up into the ceiling. And then I connected the breakout box in the ceiling and had like a little hook, off the lowered ceiling tiles come down. And so it left just enough slack on the cable for you to walk in the desired space. And so my thought was, like, keeping it off the floor would be the optimal thing if you're walking around or whatever. You're going to rotate. You don't get it twisted around your legs. But you still
going to be less weight on your head.
A little bit, yeah. And the problem was you still rotate, right? And so the cord still gets twisted, and now it's like hitting the side of your face instead because it's got some tension in it in that direction, or it's hitting the shoulder.
And now you can't set the headset down on the floor.
And no one has yet developed an autoerotic asphyxiation game. So, it's too early.
You don't know that. It's possible.
Yes.
But like I brought my cousin, I brought my friend and my brother-in-law over to try it out over the weekend, the Vive Pre. And they were playing one of the zombie shooting games. I forget which one it was called, Brookhaven Experiment. And my cousin, who was actually like a hunter and who held the flashlight and the gun in the correct way, and so it all worked very well. It was interesting to me to watch him because he had he doesn't play video games at all, but as soon as he saw what was going on, he knew what to do. But the game is basically you're standing in this small space and zombies come at you from different angles at different speeds. But he always rotated in the same direction. And so at one point I had to like pause the game and say, hey, I need you to spin like 5 times the other way. Because the cord was getting kind of coiled up a little bit too much. That's probably an extreme case. It probably won't be something that happens very often. But it was neat, but it's still problematic. For the Rift, because you're moving less, you can still move around and stand up and move around a little bit. I think the cord on the floor is fine because you don't have to worry about like twisting around several times and then trying to take a step in a forward direction and maybe getting tangled up or falling over in it. But not so bad. Obviously, ideally, we want all this stuff to be wireless, right? But latency is the biggest concern now, and so getting bandwidth and latency down for wireless stuff is still obviously in the pipeline, I guess. So there's that.
This this kind of reminds me.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and I'd thought this before, and then Lloyd Case came out with an article, and the introduction of this is very, very reminiscent of 3D hardware acceleration in 95, 96. You have multiple vendors with different ideas how to do things. There's no set way or API, I guess you could say. I mean, there sort of is, but not really. I mean, you're developing for Oculus, you're developing for Vive, and very few are getting both of those together. And it's kind of like the API wars. It had Glide, and you had S3 Metal, and you had Redline and ATI Rage. I can't think it was their thing was called. But the hardware's expensive. It was out of the reach of a lot of people at that time because why would you spend $300-400 on a 3D video card that you would only use in a couple of games? I mean, when I had my Orchid Righteous 3D that had the physical switch that when you went into 3D that would actually click, and then you'd play all these other games, you'd never hear a click, and you'd be so disappointed. It's like, I just bought this. Why aren't you, an early DirectD or Glide game? Why can't I hear this click and get better graphics? It kind of seems like that. It's there's not many titles, but the guys who are doing it are seemingly doing it really right. It's not these chintzy, cheap implementations that's going to cause a lot of nausea and vomiting and fatigue, but they're well thought out, well designed, low latency. They've identified a lot of the problems that would cause a lot of discomfort and pulling you out of the game, so to speak, with artifacts and crap like that.
Right.
But for $600 for one, and then we're expecting $900 for the Vive.
It's $799,
$799, $800.
Yeah.
That's a significant amount of money. So if you look at a Voodoo in late, early 1996, it was a $400 part. And when we start looking at inflation, that's about the same price as the Oculus. So, it's a chunk of change to spend, but I'm hoping it's going to be worth it and take off. I mean, I could see fun things you could do, not just in games, but in social activities that you could use VR with. And I think that's why Facebook bought them up, the social aspects of being in virtual worlds and being in a what would seem a similar space to your friends doing things together.
Mm-hmm. Socially transmitted dystopias.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the other thing that I'm interested in is kind of the virtual desktop side stuff, too. I just had a couple of minutes to play around with it on, did I do it on the Vive or the Rift? On the Vive. Where you can run a virtual desktop. And essentially, the idea is you can have an unlimited number of monitors or one enormous monitor in space, right? At basically any resolution, effective resolution, I guess. But the resolution of your HMD will differ. And so I think I set it up as just one display where you had this big curved display and you can look around at all the different spaces. And, I want to put all my messaging over here, and all you do is look over there and it's there. Now that all depends on, would I be comfortable wearing the headset for extensive number of hours, like as long as I'm at the office, or, 3 or 4 hours at a time.
Didn't the Defense Grid too, when you got back into the command ship, they had that same kind of thing. You had that big screen in front of you that was your desktop, and you looked to the side, and they had instructions there, and then you had the other side, what key bindings. I mean, you had all that stuff just kind of right there in this virtual environment. Is fun.
It is, and it could be really cool. The whole idea of 360 video is interesting. I think there's a lot of places for this to go. We're really, really, really just the beginning. And I'm curious to get my hands on a retail Vive. Like I said, we had the Vive Pre. I don't know what the changes are yet. So the retail Vive will be out next Tuesday, April 5th, I think, is when they said those should start arriving to the first pre-orderers. So I think that'll be interesting to say the least. Anybody pre-order one? Anybody else in this podcast? No.
Not a chance.
No.
No, I paid off debt.
The $300 that I invested in Oculus Kickstarter 3-something years ago turned out to be pretty valuable. It was a good investment, actually, as it turned out. Got a free $600 headset.
The only Kickstarter that was ever a good investment.
The only Kickstarter that was ever a good investment. True. All right, let's jump through a couple real quick. I'll just show Maury posted a review of the Reeven 4 Eyes Touch Fan Controller.
That's not right. A very nice name.
It's very impolite.
Well, but it's made by 6 Eyes.
It's close. This is $49. It's been a long time since I've looked at a fan controller. I don't know. I'd have to see this in person to see if the blue in me will get along. But you get 2.5 amps per channel. That seems like a lot. Temperature range up to 99C. That seems like that should be enough as well. It fits in a 5.25 inch bay. You can see all the different connectors and stuff you've got here. Josh, when's the last time you used a fan?
See, 6 Eyes.
Oh my God, you're right. You weren't even kidding. The 6 Eyes 3.
I've never used a fan controller.
Really?
Yep. I have one in my my place behind me.
Yeah.
With everything else I've ever collected, but I've never actually used it.
Jeremy,
I had one on an old Thermaltake monstrosity.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the name of it was. But it was like an EATX case, and it was kind of handy because that damn thing had about a dozen bright orange fans in it, and you could crank it up when you were actually gaming or doing something, and when you wanted it to be quiet, you could make it quiet. And this must be 7 years ago, and I haven't used one since.
I haven't used one in a long time either. This one's SATA powered. You don't have to have a Molex connector or a floppy connector. That's a plus.
Appreciate that.
Right? It looks like you can change the color on it.
Yeah, there's 6 or 7 colors, I think he said.
Okay. Yep, there we go. There's some colors. Ooh, red one. Harder to see. Bright blue blinding you in the night is the color I prefer, for sure. Fairly simplistic. Comes with all the extension cables you need for the data, and then obviously the temperature probes and stuff. I would agree, it's also been a very long time since I've done this. Maury is doing in the case modding. This is probably, if you go to QuakeCon, chances are you'll see this device sitting in his system somewhere, if I were to guess. So
that's what they do with your drive bay.
Something, yeah. If you've got a 5.25-inch drive bay in your system and you hate optical drives, or you have one optical drive and you have 5 drive bays or 3 drive bays, this will give you something to do with it. I don't know. A lot of cases integrate fan controllers, but this is obviously going to have a lot more granular support and stuff like that. But I also understand the idea of, hey, maybe software-based ones are really the way to go here. Let's see here. We are going to take a... Why does this... There it is. Take a quick break here and thank today's podcast sponsor. That's right, everybody. Our good friends from Braintree Payments are back. This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by them, those very people, Braintree Payments. By next year, maybe even next week, there could be a whole new way to pay for stuff. I'm interested in that. Maybe it will be the next Bitcoin. It could be the next Apple Pay, or maybe a combination of both. Fortunately, Braintree's full-stack payment platform is easily adaptable to whatever the future holds. Whatever the future holds, Josh. So you can adapt easily as well. Accept everything from pounds to PayPal to the next big innovation from any device with just one integration. And when that new payment method comes out, all you have to do is update a few lines of code. No late nights, no complicated recording or recoding. No stress about staying ahead of the curve. Braintree Payments is here to help. Man, I'm not on top of this today. Learn more at braintreepayments.com/PCPer. braintreepayments.com/PCPer. It is a simple, secure payment solution with easy to integrate code, guys. If you don't have time, this is for apps or websites. If you don't have time, you can give them a call. They'll walk you through it. They'll actually even do it for you, I think. Braintree Code supports Android, iOS, and JavaScript clients, .NET, Node.js, Java, Perl, PHP, Python, and Ruby. SDKs in all those languages, and it has elegant code with clear documentation. And due to recent events, I am a fan of elegant documentation and code. BraintreePayments.com/PCPer, and we thank them for their support of the PC Perspective Podcast. All right, so quickly, we will also touch on Lee posted a review. I had these out of order. EVGA. We had a couple of EVGA items on the list today. We're going to start with a laptop. Did you know EVGA made laptops, guys?
I know they make sweet stickers for laptops.
True.
And I might have seen an EVGA laptop at CES, maybe.
You did see
along with a sound card. Did they release a sound card today?
Not yet. When
Maybe
they do,
it's inside the laptop.
So this is the EVGA SC17 gaming notebook. We did see this first at CES. It's a large machine, 17.3 inch, ultra. That should be Ultra HD instead of UDH. But it's a 4K screen, 17.3 inch display. Spec wise, you've got a Core i7 6820K, so it's high end Skylake. Quad core, hyper-threaded, unlocked as well. 32 gigs of DDR4 memory. 256 gig PCIe SSD. I believe it was a Samsung 950 Pro in our unit. And then a 1 terabyte, 7200 RPM hard drive. Like I said, you got the 4K screen. You've got 2 USB 3.0, 1 USB 3.1. The USB 3.1 is Type-C, which is nice. 1 HDMI 1.4 output, 2 mini DisplayPort outputs, one of which supports external G-Sync displays. Windows 10 based, obviously. The GPU in this baby is a GeForce GTX 980M. So it's not the full-size 980, which is worth pointing out, but it is the 980M. So you're going to get performance just a little bit below maybe a desktop GTX 970 graphics card. It's kind of the equivalent performance characteristics there. But overall, a pretty killer system. The use of a 4K screen is interesting because obviously that GPU is not going to be able to play games at 4K. So what you will do instead, I hope, is play the games at 1080p. And it will scale 4:1 essentially on that display. And we did that. I did that with Rise of the Tomb Raider, GTA 5. It looked fantastic and it ran great as well. The design of the laptop itself is pretty nice. It's fairly thin laptop, for a 17-inch gaming device. It's got a full-size keyboard with a numpad on there. Fairly sizable touchpad. Pretty good sounding speakers. They're still laptop speakers, but they sound really good for laptop speakers.
Still got the Kensington lock port.
I wonder how much does that company
But they got
get?
2 of them.
Wait, what? Really?
Scroll up. A little bit. Now down. There. Look,
That is actually a great idea.
Why is it a good idea?
Because sometimes you have your laptop. Some people put the laptop on the left side of their desk. Some people put it on the right side of their desk.
Yeah, but who locks their laptop down?
People.
I just had a request today for one.
I mean, I've never done it,
Okay,
but in
all
theory, like it costs them nothing to put on it, so it might
That's
as well
true.
be on both sides. So it's always most convenient.
That's fair.
Cost them nothing. They probably get money for that.
Maybe.
No, I mean, I bet they have to pay a licensing.
Oh hell no! And Kensington's like, oh, we don't want to go
what kind of
bankrupt. We don't
reviewers
want to be
are you
obsolete.
that you miss such an important feature?
The dual Kensington lock. It's true. I was more focused on how thin and svelte it is. 1.05 inches thick
chamfered
at
edges.
its with the chamfered edges. The EVGA light on the back is actually an independent LED. It's not like the backlight bleeding through, which is interesting because you can turn it on and off independently. There's your chamfered edge, Ken, right there. It's a unibody design, kind of a metal. It's all metal. The body's all metal. You can open it with one finger. You know, like you don't have to worry about using 2 hands to open it up, which is just one of those nice touches. This is the power button. The little tiny pinhole above it is actually a BIOS reset switch.
Oh,
So you stick
How's the BIOS battery placement?
BIOS battery placement is actually pretty good. You just have to take off the back panel first. The keyboard is really good as well. There's a lot of throw in the keys. They're scissor switches, but they're actually still pretty impressive. Like I said, integrated speakers sound pretty good, all things considered. It's a great design. It weighs 8.5 plus pounds, so it's a heavy beast. It has a interesting power adapter, which I happen to have sitting here on the desk. This is the power adapter. I want to know what you guys think about it. So if you look at
that's a CD-ROM. That's not
How
a
many
power adapter.
watts?
240 watts.
Yeah, because I've have Dell 160 watts and they're pretty
Yeah.
big. That's impressive.
That's-
So it's wider. It's like a square. Like it's an odd shape, but it's very thin. And I think this is a really good idea because it's thin enough to, like, if you've got a backpack or whatever satchel you're putting it in. This to me is a more comfortable form factor for that than a kind of
a big
bigger
old power brick.
Yeah.
But no, that's like 2 of those Dell 165s side by side.
Yeah, and so I think that's a nice little thing they did. I mentioned BIOS. It actually has a full UEFI implementation that you can access by pounding on that F2 key during startup.
And you can overclock like the wind.
You can overclock like the wind. It's got manual controls in there for CPU because it's an unlocked part, and you can actually overclock the GPU in the BIOS, which I kind of appreciate that as well. But the easier way is to use the new EVGA Precision Mobile software. Which, again, you can adjust CPU and GPU independently. But maybe more interesting is it just kind of, because EVGA, there's only one SKU of this, guys. EVGA knows the CPU and they know the GPU. They just kind of preset your overclock. So it overclocked the CPU from when all cores, all threads running, it was running at 3.2 gigahertz stock. And then it went to 3.8 gigahertz with the overclock. Right, with just kind of hitting a button to go up to the overclock. And then the GPU offset was 76 megahertz, and the memory GPU offset was 200 megahertz on its overclock. So pretty impressive. You know, obviously the machine gets louder, gets a little hotter when you do that, as you would expect. But you're seeing like a 20% increase in CPU performance when that occurs. And you get 7 to 8% performance improvement in games like Rise of the Tomb Raider. You can see that here. You've got 1080p very high. Going from 54 to 58 or so frames per second, GTA 5, 55 to 59. This was kind of interesting. I ran, even though the 980M is not on the list of kind of VR-approved GPUs by anybody, I ran the Steam VR performance test on the left, stock, and on the right, overclocked. And that overclocking was just enough to get it over that edge into the green to be VR ready.
A pixel.
Maybe a couple of pixels. Maybe just a couple of pixels. But that's actually, you know, again, kind of showing you the potential benefit of overclocking on it. And you could probably push this GPU a little bit further, right? And despite what the screenshots there show where the GPU is being run as the HD 530, that's just... you had to go into the system properties or into the control panel for an NVIDIA GPU and tell it to run on the discrete GPU for that. But it did work. So that was pretty impressive. Battery life, not great. You're going to get about 200 minutes of battery life on web browsing on it, and that is with a 74. Is somebody, you all right over there?
Sorry, I have cats that are having a good time behind me.
Yeah?
I'll go take care of that.
Okay, you do that. That 200 minutes of web browsing, I feel like we should all spy on Josh, but maybe
I'm good.
maybe not. That is with a nearly 75 watt hour battery. So battery life, not great, but not expected to be great with a mobile gaming machine. We did crack it open. You can see the battery, the hard drive, the M.2 SSD, or GPUs under this heatsink, or processors under that one.
Shared heat pipes?
Yes. So
Okay.
there's 3 that go through the GPU cooling and 2 that go through the CPU cooling, but they're all connected in one big system.
Huh.
For sure. Another interesting kind of point when we tore it apart was that there's clearly a place on this PCB for a second M.2 port that EVGA is either going to do in a future design, or they decided against it for whatever reason. So they've got one 256 gig SSD here. We could add a second. Well, you could have added a second one. Maybe they will in the future and do RAID configurations or something like that. That's kind of neat to see. We talked about the power supply already. Pricing, this is a $2,699 laptop, guys.
That's a lot of laptop.
That's a lot of laptop dollars.
You know, back in 1996, that's low price for a laptop.
That's true.
You're not wrong.
It's true.
Hey, Josh,
Hey, what?
that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? Everything revolves around 1996 for me. It was a big year.
It was a good year for you. Yeah.
It was.
The,
It's all downhill from there.
The pricing
didn't weigh a
Has been.
The pricing is competitive though. The MSI has their GT72S, which is $25.99. It's a much thicker device. I think it's like 0.8 of an inch thicker, but it shares pretty much the same specifications. It doesn't have a unibody design. It's plastic instead of metal. It has more USB ports. What was the other difference, Ken? I'm trying to think.
1080p display.
It had 1080p display instead of a 4K display. Obviously, you can determine if that's a positive or negative. So it is right in the area for this, and I think for kind of like the styling you have with it, and the kind of the form of it, as well as the design of it, is it kind of I hate to say it justifies the price, because gaming laptops are expensive. I get it, but all things considered, it's in the right wheelhouse. It's in the competitive space, and it's a hell of a gaming laptop. Like it's really, really nice device. And it's their first try at it. They're going to continue this upgrade path. They're going to have another unit probably later in the year that'll have G-Sync. They showed that at CES as well. So that I was pretty impressed. I was actually pretty impressed with what EVGA was able to build. So that's the SC17 review. You can check that out. And then I'll quickly mention this. The EVGA 650 watt GQ power supply. I think Josh was the model for this one.
Obviously.
Yep. We've actually reviewed the 750 watt GQ power supply. It's slightly updated, and it's obviously a lower wattage part. It is a partially what do we call that?
Modular.
There you go. Thank you. Partially modular power supply. You can see you've got your primary ATX, secondary ATX, and probably a PCIe coming out of it. And then you've got your kind of modular connections for the rest of that stuff. I don't really have
I bet you that's an eco button.
Yep. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We don't have a problem. Like, these partially modular power supplies, that's not a big deal, right?
No, because you're always going to use the big power cable. Why have that modular in the first place?
Yep.
When you're going to be losing anywhere from 10 to 20% due to the connection versus solder. It's a lot.
You're not losing that much. There's no way.
Yeah.
No.
You're losing.
I'm going to have Lee tell you you're wrong later.
Okay.
So
No, I remember talking to the PC power and cooling guys.
Yeah, what year was
Many
that?
years
back
back.
when they were a thing. 96.
Yeah.
they made
And-
vacuum
and-
cleaners, not power supplies.
They made the best damn power supplies on the planet. You bet your tongue.
Yeah. But
Fight-
anyway,
you
I mean,
guys
they
should
said
fight
that,
about
yeah,
it.
modular is nice, but you lose some stuff. So, okay, I guess the example they gave to me is if we soldered it on there, we could have a cable length that was about 3 feet long, and we're not going to suffer huge resistance. But if we were to make it modular, we would have to cut that cable length in half to have the same kind of output at the end, just because of resistance. So, no, it's not 10 to 20%, but it's a significant amount where it affects the actual design of the unit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah.
I will say that
the
highest capacity power supplies on the market are fully modular. The 1600 watts are fully modular.
And platinum rated at that, right? Yeah. So like, you don't get an 80
the wall.
You don't get an 80 plus platinum. No, 80 plus platinum is the efficiency, right? It's how much power can the connectors draw, on an efficiency of the unit.
It just seems like if it was such a big issue that when they need to draw all of the power out to get to 1600, then they wouldn't make it not modular.
I would guess it's 1%. Maybe is the difference.
Sounds like Lee's got to do another review.
Fine.
Because it kind of makes sense. Because the connections are fairly inefficient. But, okay, say you're trying to deliver 5 volts to something, and you've got 5 volts at the end of a cable. Mm-hmm. How would that change if you don't do any kind of internal switching or adjustments, if you do modular? I don't know, it's an interesting question for Lee. It really
if I were to guess, I would say, so cheaper power supplies tend to not do modular. It's obviously more expensive to have modular. You've got to have plastic connectors. You got the idea of having these separate cables you have to produce and kind of put in box with it, and then you have warranty issues of people plugging them into the wrong places, maybe, or stupid crap like that. But I can't imagine it really changes much. Anyway, I will solicit feedback from appropriate parties, including our own Lee Garbett, on that exact thing. But in any event, if you're interested in reading his review of the EVGA 650-watt GQ power supply, you can find that at pcper.com as of today. All right, and also quickly, let's get into some news items here. I was going to bring it with me, but I don't have it. Logitech launched, just like hours after our podcast ended last week, the G900 Chaos Spectrum Wireless Ambidextrous Mouse. Look at that thing. Look at that box. That is a box if I've ever seen one.
It's amphibious.
It's amphibious. It lives in both land and water. Don't put this mouse in the water, actually.
Just don't turn it on.
Well, I would also not put it in the water at all, period. So, a couple of things. It's ambidextrous. Apparently, Logitech gets lots of requests from the 3 left-handed people out there. I'm just kidding, guys.
Oh, poor Scott.
Just kidding.
So
relax.
sinister.
So evil. But I've actually been using this mouse since 3 or 4 days before it launched, and I'm right-handed, and it works perfectly fine. As it turns out, it will in fact work for both right-handed and left-handed people. A couple of interesting things. It's wireless. They're rated as a gaming mouse. That will mean opposite things to some people. They did a lot of testing to prove that the mouse was capable, as I was going to scroll down to the bottom here and bypass a couple of things, that the latency of a wireless mouse, the blue bars here that they've measured latency of the G900 is better than the wired mice from SteelSeries and the Death Adder Chroma. That is because of internal stuff that they have done, and internal controller logic that they have done. They walk through their setup process and their testing process. And they also did RF interference testing for wireless as well. You can compare. Here is the G900 when it's wired platform, wireless with no perturbator, otherwise known as interference. And then here it is with a lot of interference. You can see slight changes, but not much. But meanwhile, here's the Mamba 2015 with its wireless connectivity.
I like slinkies.
Wired, wireless, and then with a lot of interference, right? So obviously these are probably the results that make them look the best, but they're mentioning their competitors by name. They're showing their testing process very specifically. So I tend to have, in general, I don't believe that they would lie that outright about it. So even for serious gamers, they want to prove that the G900 is a good mouse. Like for professional gaming, wireless is not an issue. It charges through this USB port in the front. Notice these 2 little cavities here on the side. That's actually the USB cable I'll show you will have little inserts that go into that to give it strength when you have it plugged in while it's charging, so you can still use it. It's a nice design. The buttons have a pretty unique kind of hinge design where they're hinged more towards the base as opposed to where the button is. The spring is actually you're pushing against the spring instead of with the spring in this instance, which changes some things around. Here's a USB cable. There it is, plugged in. So you get an idea. Because there's actually somebody in the comments complaining about, hey, the micro USB connector is not strong enough to use as a mouse every day. And clearly Logitech agreed and put those little arms on either side that connect into the housing of the mouse itself. And what they kind of recommend you do is this cable with the little arms sits on top of your desk, or it can sit on top of your desk. And they give you this micro USB to full-size USB adapter, and then you put your wireless dongle, if you will, your wireless adapter in it. So you're using it in a wireless mode the entire time, but if you notice the battery is low, but you don't want to wait for it to charge, you actually disconnect this whole piece. You're making it a not wireless mouse anymore. You're disconnecting the wireless adapter from your PC, and you plug it into the cable, and voila, you actually have a wired mouse. It actually shows up as a wired mouse. It's not just a wireless mouse getting power. But
is the mouse fully satisfied by just the single penetration, or does it want the triple?
It's triple. It's got to be triple. You can satisfy it with just one. It will get power, so to speak. But it will be more empowered,
I bet,
if it has all three prongs. The other interesting thing the G900 does is the side buttons on it, where your thumb would rest if you're a right-handed person or a left-handed person. Those are interchangeable. So if you see here on the right-hand side of the mouse where my pinky fingers and stuff would be, pinky finger, I should say, just singular on that, there's kind of like this blank segment in place, no buttons to be activated there. But if you remove it, it's just magnets that hold it in. You can see there's two switches right here, and it comes with the pieces to add in the two additional switches. So
how do they work?
You push them.
No, the magnets.
They attract, and then they detract.
Okay.
And then they attract. No,
you just don't like the gigolo in me.
I don't.
No.
Magnets, how do they work? So you can do that with either side, right? And they give you the panels and the buttons for both sides. So if you want no thumb buttons or pinky buttons, you can do that. But if you want all four of them, you can do that as well. So it's kind of a neat little addition. It's expensive. It's $149, or I'm sorry, $149. But it is available now, I believe, or maybe I think it was maybe early April. No, it says next week, so it's available now. It's expensive, but that's kind of in the right realm competitively. I've been using it for the last 10 days or so, and really like it. And I've only had to charge it once in that 10 days. So battery life on it is, I should mention this. Battery life, they say, will last 30. I think they said 32 hours of continuous motion, of continuous gaming.
Motion.
Or that. So, and that doesn't sound like a lot, especially if you're used to something like, I don't know, one of the, wireless mice meant for laptops where 2 AA batteries last for a year and a half. But remember, this is a much higher powered sensor. It's doing a lot more processing on the mouse. And the software gives you good notification ahead of time of when you're going to need to recharge. But the idea is you could fully charge it, take it with you for like a couple of days of gaming at a friend's house and not worry about losing your cable. But the benefit of using micro USB is that if you did forget your cable and you needed it, basically anybody that has cell phones around or anything else really will have chargers for you. So that's an interesting reason. I saw somebody ask why they didn't use Type-C instead of micro, but
so would you say you have average-sized hands?
yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Can you get a ruler?
Yes, the ruler says average.
Allegedly.
Is there another reason you need to know, Josh?
No. Just current events.
Good answer. Good answer. UWP is a thing. Microsoft is a company. Whoop. Universal Windows Platform. We talked about this, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever all that jazz happened.
It's a month ago at this point.
It's been a month ago?
Something like that.
Holy crap.
Did they start out the conference with, oop, there it is?
No, but they should have. That'd have been good.
They should have. Marketing fail.
So Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, was on stage at the Microsoft Build conference today, which we'll mention a second story that's not on our list here that I want to bring up. To talk about the UWP, the Universal Windows Platform, the idea that, hey, there are these games that are now on your PC, like Gears of War Ultimate Edition, that are restricted. You can't disable VSync. You can't enable G-Sync or FreeSync. We can't properly test performance. It doesn't support overlays.
We hate modders.
We hate modders, all that stuff. And I guess, Jeremy, that Phil Spencer kind of came up and said, yeah, we're gonna change some of that stuff.
Oh, wow, you guys hate us for saying all of this? Well, maybe we're going to backtrack a little bit and, we'll let you disable VSync. We'll think about bringing G-Sync and FreeSync in. Well, actually, no, we're going to do that. We'll think about letting you do modding and overlays. We're not going to give you data or anything, but, we're just realizing that we aren't really liking the taste of our own feet right now because we've got so many of them shoved in our mouth right now. So we're going to back off a little bit. It's still going to be a really hard sell to get developers to play with UWP unless they lock the platform down, in which case they may well see the migration that we hear everyone saying because of Windows 10. Because there are choices out there, and trying to lock this down and suggesting that, oh, well, you should buy both of our devices, a Windows machine and an Xbox, because some games are more suited towards one or the other. So the RTSs, we're just going to do those for just the PC gamers, even though, the Xbox has mouse and keyboard capability. And apparently Halo 5. Yeah, no, that's for the console guys. Sorry, PC guys, go out and buy one. They're walking a thin, tight line. If they can pull it off, which, hey, Microsoft has been around for a long time, doing very well, may well find a way to do.
Yep.
On the other hand, if they just tee off too many people, there's this large guy over here with a copy of Half-Life 3 that no one else has, saying, well, maybe if you come over here and, come on.
Come on, kids. I got a white unmarked van that has free candy in there. No?
Yes.
Did I take that too far, or did Jeremy just drop?
No, I didn't drop, but my microphone popped out. It felt good.
So
I thought that my joke bombed so incredibly terribly, even Jeremy was offended.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this unified Windows platform over the coming months, maybe a year or two. It's got to be a hard sell when you've got some really big developers saying it's got to die. Not even just innuendo, like flat out saying UWP has to die.
Yeah, he's been saying a lot of things have to die
This
the
is
past
true.
couple of weeks.
Yeah.
They did say May for disabling VSync, FreeSync, and G-Sync support. I don't know if multi-GPU was supposed to be in May or not. But
I don't remember, no.
They talked a lot about Windows Anniversary Edition, which is this summer's big release of Windows 10. I think we're going to see a lot more of this and that.
They're really
because,
calling it
that
the
is one
Anniversary
thing
Edition?
is that...
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a bad name.
All right.
Yeah, it really is. But
It's like
now
Windows
that they've
98
tied,
second edition.
I like that. Win 98 SE.
SE.
It's the second coming.
It's iPhone SE.
Well, that one, nah, maybe not.
Nice. So, Josh, do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, this is all good news, right? Like, this is what we want. We want Microsoft to fix the things that we complain about.
Yes.
It's hard to continue to bitch if, like, they say, okay, look, fine, we screwed up May, you'll have this, this, and this. As long as they actually deliver on it, you can still say, hey, you should have known about this beforehand, because, like, these are all customers of yours.
If we look at the OS level, there has been some philosophical changes at Microsoft in between from what we saw with Windows 7 to Windows 8, 8.1, and now what they're doing with Windows 10. We have some pretty major updates that they're pushing forward that typically in the past they would have waited for SP1, that would be like a year and a half after the release of the operating system. And they had pretty concrete plans for each OS and what they were going to do, and it took nearly an act of God to get them to change any of their directions. And it seems that they're attempting to be more agile, and maybe I'm misreading the situation, but if they're getting enough negative feedback and Phil Spencer comes on and says, we're going to change a few things, and by May you're going to see some differences here, I think that's a good thing, because they've got a virtual stranglehold on desktop OS. I mean, sure, our friend Ben Stone would be mad at us, and probably is all the time. But that's Ben. But Linux is nowhere near to being a viable desktop for the average person. I mean, they've gotten better, but you still don't have the rapid change that could be enabled by a very focused software group. And it seems like Microsoft is trying to be a whole lot more focused and react to their customers rather than saying, hey, this is set in stone. Right. And unless we get so much backlash that it's going to cause us big problems in the future and we're going to change some, they're more willing to make adjustments, more willing to provide significant updates sooner than in the typical SP1 launches.
Agreed. I'm glad for this. I'm talking with some people. I really believe that internally they understand what got jacked up.
The other interesting demo they showed along with this is they took Witcher 2. People thought it was Witcher 3, but it was Witcher 2.
That was actually cool.
And passed it through a converter and made a UWP app. And it still had the Steam overlay in it. It still had Steamworks in it.
So they announced support for overlays coming in the future. That's not a May thing, right?
No, there was no date for the overlays.
Like, this story isn't specifically the overlay. It's that they took a regular Win32 game, a full DirectX, that was probably a DX9 game, Witcher 2.
Probably.
Like a huge project, put it through their little converter shim, and it was running as a UWP app. It's an interesting thought. So it in theory will make it easier for developers to put their games multiple places. Because as much as we love Steam, it has a monopoly over all of this stuff, and Valve could do something crappy one day, and then what would we do?
You're right.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have
options. But does Microsoft have to come from the exact opposite side of the scale, where they just do crappy things, but they might do something good one day?
Gotta cover both ends.
Can we get in the middle here, guys, please?
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing that they showed was Bash working on Windows, like Linux in Windows, Linux in your Windows.
2016 is the year of the Linux desktop, as it turns out.
But it just happens to be in Windows 10. Windows 10 is now the biggest install base for Linux in the world.
Yeah.
Yep. We don't really need to go into it, but I thought it was really impressive, the demo video that we saw earlier. I just can't wait to ls-l all of my file directories.
So it's not just...
Don't they have Cyanogen already running? Is that...
You're thinking of Sigwin.
Thinking of? What?
You're thinking of Sigwin.
Yes. Yep. Sorry.
So
it's a Cyanogen mod for Win. Anyway.
No, Cyanogen mod was a thing like 10 years after Sigwin.
Okay, sorry.
Cyanogen mod is the Android ROM thing.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
So this isn't just necessarily a Bash shell. It is a full Ubuntu Linux kernel from Canonical, who does Ubuntu. They're the corporate overlords, running on top of Windows 10, not in a VM, not under a hypervisor, native
raw there.
Yeah. So that's
what's impressive.
It's got all of the tools that you'd find in a stock Ubuntu install. You can apt-get install apps. You can run GCC and compile code and then run it.
World.
You can kill processes.
It's so strange, and it has access to the Windows file system, so you can still it's essentially having a Linux computer and a Windows computer all in. It's essentially having a Linux computer that you can use Explorer and Win32 apps on.
Right.
Which is amazing.
Sigwin was, as I look on Wikipedia, it was a DLL and an API compatibility layer, right?
Yeah, it did some weird stuff and never quite worked right.
It was originally developed by Cygnus Solutions, which was later acquired by Red Hat. But we don't have to read Wikipedia. But I thought it was really cool as somebody that only uses Linux, like not even tertiarily, whatever comes out, whatever the term for
quaternary,
right?
Quaternary.
Only when I really, really, really have to. And I'm actually hopeful that this might lead me into like using a little bit more for other utilities like batch scripts suck. Bat scripts suck, but if I can write bash scripts to do some functionality in Windows and scripting things that I want to do,
you can grep now.
I can grep all I want. Grep -r, pipe pcper.com and look for all the files. I don't know very many.
It's weird. It's kind of like reverse wine. So they're translating the Linux calls into Windows calls.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Yep. I like it.
Usually I don't like reverse wine.
Usually,
Is that like butt wine?
Usually that is.
Full piss.
I was thinking more throwing up, but that's fine. You guys go your way. Asus Echelon GTX 950 limited edition in Arctic camouflage.
Echelon.
What's with all the
usually you got to buy DLC to get that.
Right. What's with all the 950 stuff, guys?
I don't know.
I don't know. A lot of
really
people
weird.
latched onto this today, and it's kind of weird. There's a special edition 950, like a weird one-off 950.
Did NVIDIA finally go, damn it, we have way too many of these GPUs sitting unsold?
I think they just wanted to get on top of monetize the Echelon.
Yeah, but
You don't know what that means.
I don't.
That's okay. It's a strange, complex philosophical term.
okay, thank you. So they just
Except
released
it's
a
Echelon.
950 that didn't require a power connector, right? Like a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
So this requires a power connector, but it also features, quote, auto extreme technology, which is Asus marketing speak for high-end capacitors, chokes, and other components. Auto extreme technology.
Yeah, definitely not mil-spec components.
No. It looks cool. I don't know. I'm
It's
just
overclocked
weirded
a
out.
bit.
Yeah, is it? Okay. Like
A little
by how
bit.
much? A little bit? I don't know.
160-ish.
$180 is what Tim, I think, wrote this up, thinks he is estimating it will be based on its kind of price over reference cards, but it may, or basic cards, but it may, like I said, I don't know, the resurgence of the 950 is odd to me. I don't know if there was some reasoning for it. I'd be curious if anybody has.
Yeah, because at that price you can get a R9 380, and it's significantly faster.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the 950 came out in August of 2015.
And it wasn't really a good part when it came out in August of 2015.
Yeah,
It was
oddly
too
placed.
expensive for the performance.
It was oddly placed. A GM206 part.
Yeah,
I don't
that was a thing.
Yeah. All right, so there's that. Our last bit of news here is it's interesting until we get to the price, but we'll talk about the not price first. Acer Predator Z850 gaming projector, a mobile monitor. Jeremy wrote this up. What is interesting about this other than its wicked angles and coloring?
Well, honestly, one of the things that I don't mind at all about it, people are going to hate. The resolution is 1920 by 720. So it's wide enough for you, but it's not big enough numbers.
That's a 24:9 aspect ratio, I think we should point out, which is unique.
Yeah. It's significantly wider than you've ever seen. But what blows me away is that this thing will project that at 120-inch size on your wall, whatever you've got, at a distance of 18.5 inches. So closer than you're probably sitting to your monitor right now. That is insane.
That's a pretty short throw.
Like that is a ridiculously short throw, and for 120 inches, not bad at all.
And the good news is it has composite input.
It does. And 2 HDMIs and 2 VGAs.
What's the why
Is 24:9 CinemaScope?
I don't.
Yeah, I
It
think
could be.
yeah.
That rings a bell.
It's
But
DLP
then again,
3D
so
ready.
does DLP 3D
So you can
ready.
watch Lawrence of Arabia in its original aspect.
I think it's like Super
Quite
16 CinemaScope or something like that.
Yeah.
Some weird film aspect ratio.
So it's using a laser.
It
Friggin'
uses a laser diode.
Laser diode provides 100,000 to 1 contrast ratio and 3,000 lumens of brightness.
Which is
That's
just
a lot of
insane.
lumens.
That's a lot, right? Like you could
Like,
probably
that's-
use this in a fully lit room then.
You could probably use this outdoors.
Now the problem with this is what, Jeremy?
Well, it's going to run you a little bit more than your average 120-inch monitor. It's $5,000.
Yeah, 49.
And that
But
is
that throw.
big.
That throw, though.
that throw.
The throw, it's even got a serial port on it. So
I was going to ask what that third VGA.
That's an
port was for.
RS-232.
Okay.
yeah, just cause. And the other nice thing about using the lasers is you can just fire this up, use it, turn it off, throw it in your bag, and walk away.
No bulb
Anyone
to
who's
worry
used a
about.
light bulb projector knows, as long as you like buying a lot of bulbs, that's okay. But other than that, you cannot do that.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, it's got
is that a
lock.
Kensington lock?
Yeah.
So there you go. You lock it to your MS or your EVGA.
That's why they
monitor.
have 2 locks on the EVGA.
Right.
You can lock
you can
it to your
attach your-
laptop. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm with you now.
Oh man, what if you got
Everything makes
3 of
sense.
these in Affinity?
But I mean, honestly, if you look at HD projectors, this is sort of within the price range of what you see for these small form factor, really,
Yeah.
really short throw projectors.
I think the resolution is going to scare a lot of people off.
Yeah,
Because they
it'll
just
also
see the
do
720.
1080p.
Oh, really?
You can buy a little wireless device so that you can hook it up to in your living room to do TV, and it'll do 1080p at the proper aspect ratio. Because otherwise, you're going to have lots of black bars on your movies.
When you say it'll do 1080p, you mean it will project it at the right aspect ratio, but it's still like it's downsampling it.
Now, see, the PR didn't fully cover this, and I couldn't
Weird.
find anything online that would straighten that out, but they did brand it as 1080p, which brings with it certain connotations.
Pair it with an optional wireless HD kit to enable 1080p lossless wireless streaming.
Exactly.
It says
So-
lossless. It would hard to be lossless and then have it downsample at the display.
And the other question I had, which I didn't see anything for, is how does upscaling work on this? Because, you don't like that resolution? Well, both AMD and NVIDIA offer super scaling and upscaling, so...
You don't think it's transmitting from the projector to something else, do you? Like wireless HD from an input going into the projector to a monitor somewhere else?
Oh, wide-eye.
Right?
No,
like
I don't
see a wide-eye
like
on
you
there.
feed it a 1080p source into the projector, and then it can wirelessly HD pass it to like a screen.
Why would you
somewhere?
ever wanna
I don't
do
know,
that?
but I'm trying to figure out like how you have a 1080p lossless wireless streaming when your resolution of your projector is
1920 by 720.
Is something by 720, whatever it happens to be by 720. I don't understand how that works.
It has to be
Yeah.
scaling it.
Yeah.
Well, you can still
It's-
scale and be lossless.
I really, really, really want to try this. I have no experience with projectors, right? But I've often wanted to have experience with projectors.
We've got a sheet right here that's a green
We
screen.
got a green screen, perfect for projectors. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can convince Acer to send me one and I can mess around with it. I think it would be too expensive for pretty much everybody, but I'm interested in what it is.
I saw this thing and I said, that's one of the cooler little short throw projectors I have seen in quite a while.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's get into our hardware software.
Quick question for Ken.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
What's H-top?
Oh, well, you know what top is in Bash?
No.
Top is how you view running processes.
Okay.
H-top is a better version of that.
It's
And
hot
so you're
top.
running that on...
You could run that on
Windows.
Windows, probably. I wonder
Nice.
I wonder if top works. I wonder if you can see the Windows processes. You might not be able to. I don't know.
That
You
seems,
might just see protected process.
that
Yeah.
seems pretty. Yeah. Just one that says no.
One that says Windows.
F-U-L-I-N-O-X.
All right, hardware software picks. This is mine. This is interesting. Actually, I left the damn cable over there. So, if you ever had heat shrink tubing, tube sleeving, wrap cable wire, 5-color, 8 size. So heat,
Yeah, I had to go to the emergency room for that.
if you're using heat shrink tubing in all the wrong places, heat shrink tubing, if you don't know what it is if you've done any kind of solder work between two cables, you have or any kind of anything like that really. You put this tubing on, you use a heat gun, it compresses it, it shrinks it, and it creates a kind of a protective seal around whatever, whether that be a solder joint or something else that you've done. And this is $10 for 530 pieces of this stuff. And it comes in all colors and shapes and sizes, right, depending on what you're trying to do. Ooh, and it does have a patent.
You are best.
Oh, sorry. Well, is that a trademark or a patent?
You are best.
Patent and Trademark Office.
Well,
What's that say? Yunfuk Inc.?
go to the left. It's a trademark.
Oh, well, that doesn't need to be on here at all.
You're fucking.
So
You fargen ice holes.
you need this, and you need a heat gun. I don't think a hairdryer is going to get the job done for you. You think it might if you leave it there long enough?
You can use your stove and it'll get the job done eventually.
Right. The reason I bring this up is we actually used this. Alan used it recently. Like we had an Apple lightning cable that, as with every lightning cable that has ever existed for more than 6 months, frays at the end where it connects to your phone, because you have this really fixed, sharp-edged piece of plastic, and then you have this rubber thing that just bends back and forth on that sharp edge of plastic over and over as you plug it in and move it around. So everything gets frayed. We had one that was basically like a full inch of separation, and you could see like all the exposed kind of silver wire and stuff inside there, and the shielding and whatnot. And so Alan took a piece of this shrink tubing, slid it over the connector, and basically heat gunned it so that it was at least protected after that, and we didn't have to worry about replacing that particular cable anymore. So that was nice. And I bet you could find several uses for that type of stuff. With heat shrink tubing. Like I said, you can get 530 pieces of it. You'll probably never need another piece of heat shrink tubing in your life. It's $10 on Amazon, and it's You Are Best, and they have a trademark on that. So I think you should support them in their efforts of trademarking the You Are Best set of stuff, I guess.
Pro tip, slide the heat shrink over the cable before you splice them together to solder them.
Yeah, other's
that might be a good idea.
The hose.
It's a bit difficult to get over after the fact.
Otherwise, you've done screwed up. This is very true. Jeremy.
Okay, so another insane product that I just ran into today, and just recently found out there's going to be a keyboard paired with this in a review from another site. Bloody is a mouse manufacturer, and they've made the Bloody ML160 Commander Laser Gaming Mouse, which gives you the full power of a numpad under your middle finger. Because that's the thing.
That's the biggest FU I've ever seen.
I'm sorry, but this
unless you're left-handed.
Yeah, I don't think this one's amphibious.
You'll get really good with your ring finger.
Wow.
It gets
that's
better.
middle finger.
It gets better.
Not the way your middle finger
These
goes
don't
on the
use
wheel.
springs. These don't use switches. They use infrared micro switches. For every there's not a physical switch under there. It's an infrared beam mapping distance for not only the buttons but the mouse wheel. Because the mouse wheel, if you go to one of the front views, it is fully free and just spins. It is not actually embedded at all, so you can just spin it from the very bottom of the front all the way to the back. It is utterly freaking bizarre. And hey, it may well turn out to be a great thing. I'm just trying to get past the numpad.
Look at that. It's like
someone glued a championship ring onto that mouse.
Yeah. It's pretty much got a Super Bowl ring just sort of glued onto the side of it.
That's awesome, actually.
And it's bloody.
Can I also
brought to you by Bloody?
Can I go back to the fact that Ken says he uses his his ring finger for the second mouse click?
He's a mutant.
What? That's way wrong. Who uses their ring finger for the second click?
Just don't tell us what you use for the thumb.
My index finger's on the left mouse button.
Yep,
my middle finger is on the scroll wheel.
Really small fingers.
No finger permanently rests on the scroll wheel.
Why not?
No finger. No. Incorrect. No finger permanently rests on a scroll wheel.
Leave a comment.
Infrared scroll wheel.
Leave a comment to tell me how you hold your mouse.
Leave a comment, subscribe, and like to tell me how you hold your mouse.
Just don't leave any pictures.
Well, whatever.
I'm open for anything.
All right, Josh. I'm excited for your pick. What do you got?
You know what?
Turn the volume down.
You being a Star Wars guys, this was a great title back in 1998. New again, an old run on modern hardware. Rogue Squadron. Just because this next year we're getting Rogue Squadron the movie.
Yep.
So this will get you prepared. And if you missed having mists in your 3D worlds, like think Turok and anything else that you didn't want to go beyond a certain draw distance, this has got plenty of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is 1998. It looked great at the time.
Factor 5, bro.
Played this many hours because, it was.
This was N64,
3D.
right?
It's 3D, man.
N64 and PC at launch.
It came out on PC too?
It came out on
at
PC.
launch? At the same time?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
How come you stopped the video?
Because it didn't continue the next week.
Oh, there you go. See, look, the mists. But look at the surfaces. They look pretty good for being 1998. Look
There's
how rounded
nothing
they look.
there.
Sand.
There's literally nothing on them.
Well,
Exactly.
Look at
Did
the
you not see that hut?
Did
Look,
you
there's
see that
Jabba's
hut?
palace.
It just popped up. Like, you had to be 7 feet from it, but it was there. I remember playing this a lot.
I'm
I played this on
telling
the
you.
64.
Don't you ruin this for me, Ryan.
I
This is a
played this on
great
the
game.
64. No, X-Wing versus
And
TIE
Desert
Fighter is a great
Igloos
game.
everywhere.
This is a game.
It's a good game. I played through it. It's
I like
fun.
how they just have 28 random seconds of game footage.
Well,
Don't
they
try to
didn't
tell me
make
that's not what the
trailers.
game. Look at that draw distance on that screen.
Exactly.
It
the
was just
mists.
there was a sandstorm.
Oh man. Oh man.
Maybe it should be a $5 game instead of 10, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Memories.
Look at that. You can't look the Death Star, like, it just stops right
Yeah.
there. Like, there's no
Black.
Death Star. No. Yep.
Okay.
$10, huh? Oh, yep. Yep. I don't remember that level at all.
This is a big planet destroyer.
I remember that cartridge very specifically for the Nintendo 64.
There were a lot of like escort missions in that game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of babysitting.
Yeah. Well, like Wing Commander, bro, right?
Yep. A lot of babysitting in that, too.
All right, everybody. That is going to round up the show for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I don't really have a plan of what's going on for the next week. GTC, NVIDIA's GTC GPU Technology Conference is next week. Rumors are that the next GTX 1080 and GTX 1070 will launch with Pascal there. I'm going to guess not. But you never know. Maybe
Because they
something
sure
magical
as hell
happens.
ain't going to be able to ship anything.
Yeah, if they announce something, it'll be, I don't know, what do they usually do at GTC? Here's the giant version of the chip for Tesla and Quadro.
Jensen's going to come up there with a thing that has wood screws in it, and he's going to show it.
Yeah, I'm for sure they'd do that again.
For sure.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. So we'll cover that. Obviously, that keynote is on Tuesday, so we'll have that. We'll be watching that live stream and writing up news and stuff for that. And then VR stuff and builds and computers and testing and hardware and things. So we'll be back next week with another riveting episode of the PC Perspective Podcast. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Mountain.
Bye.
Yeah, Cartman.
Yeah.